In the world of the ultra-wealthy, a diamond isn't just a stone.
It's a symbol, a promise. For 183 years, Tiffany Co was the custodian of the American dream.
It was the little blue box. Safe, iconic, unstoppable. But symbols are fragile, and in the eyes of Bernard Arnault,
they are undervalued assets. Arnault is the wolf in Kashmir.
He doesn't build brands, he harvests them. This isn't a story about a merger.
It's a story about a $16 billion kidnapping.
A story of how the world's most ruthless billionaire used a global catastrophe
to pull off the ultimate corporate heist. To understand the heist, you have to understand the man.
Bernard Arnault built LVMH into a $400 billion empire using a simple, brutal philosophy: monopolize desire. He owns the wine you drink, the suitcase you carry, the perfume you wear. But by 2019, Arnault had a problem. A $20 billion problem. His arch-rival, Richemont, owned the hard luxury market.
They had Cartier, Arnault.
He had fashion, but he was naked in jewelry.
He needed a crown jewel to finish his collection.
Tiffany was the perfect target. It was legendary, but it was tired.
It was a 19th century brand struggling in a 21st century world. Its stock was stagnant. Its leadership was vulnerable.
To the board, Arnault looked like a savior. To Arnault, the board looked like
lunch.
October 2019, Arnault makes his first move.
A friendly offer. $120 a share. Cash.
Tiffany says no, they want more.
They think they're in a position of power. They think they're playing a game of checkers. Arnault doesn't flinch.
He knows their ego is his greatest ally.
A month later, he raises the stakes. $135 a share, $16.2 billion. The board folds. It's the largest deal in the history of luxury.
The wolf had his prize. The contracts were ironclad. The exitors were locked. In November 2019, it was the deal of the century. But Arnault didn't know that in 90 days,
the world was going to break.
And when the world breaks, contracts don't matter. Only leverage does. March 2020, COVID-19. The global economy didn't just slow down. It flatlined. For Tiffany, the timing couldn't have been worse.
They were in the middle of a transition.
They had stopped investing in their own survival because they thought they had a $16 billion safety net named Bernard Arnault. But Arnault doesn't do safety nets. He does investments. And suddenly, he was looking at a $16 billion bill for a company whose valuation was cratering in real time. In the boardroom of LVMH, the mood shifted. The wolf didn't want the prize anymore. Not at that price. He wanted a way out. Or at the very least,
a massive discount. Arnault's lawyers began hunting.
They were looking for a material adverse effect, a legal trapdoor that allows a buyer to walk away if the target company is destroyed by an unforeseen disaster. But there was a problem. The contract was too good. Tiffany's lawyers had anticipated a crisis. They had specifically excluded pandemics from the list of reasons LVMH could use to cancel. Arnault was boxed in. He was legally obligated to buy a bleeding company for a premium price. Most men would have accepted their fate. Arnault?
He went to the government.
September 2020, out of nowhere. A letter arrives at LVMH headquarters.
It's from the French foreign minister.
The letter ordered Arnault to delay the Tiffany acquisition until January 2021. The reason? A trade dispute between France and the United States over digital taxes. Think about that. The French government was telling a private citizen how to run his business.
In a way that just happened to save him billions of dollars.
Tiffany's board was livid. They called it a smokescreen. They claimed Arnault had extorted his own government to provide him a legal excuse to default.
It was a scandal that threatened the diplomatic ties between Paris and Washington.
But Arnault didn't care about diplomacy. He cared about leverage. While the lawyers fought, Arnault's PR machine went to war. They began leaking stories. They accused Tiffany of gross mismanagement. They said Tiffany had paid out dividends they couldn't afford just to spite LVMH. He wasn't just suing them. He was poisoning the well. He was telling the world that Tiffany was damaged goods.
He knew that every day the case dragged on in court, Tiffany's value dropped. He was starving them,
waiting for the moment they would break
and beg him to come back to the table.
He didn't want to cancel the deal. He wanted to rewrite it. September 9th, 2020, Tiffany Co had finally had enough.
They weren't just fighting for a merger. They were fighting for their lives. Tiffany filed a lawsuit in Delaware, the global capital of corporate law.
Their claim?
Arnault was strong-arming them.
They accused LVMH of deliberately stalling regulatory approvals and manufacturing a fake diplomatic crisis with the French government to tank the deal. LVMH fired back within 24 hours.
They called Tiffany's lawsuit defamatory and baseless. But then, they did something even more aggressive. They countersued.
Arnault's legal team found their weapon. While the world was burning in mid-2020, Tiffany had paid out its regular quarterly dividend
to LVMH. This was blood in the water. They argued that by paying shareholders instead of hoarding cash, Tiffany had mismanaged the crisis. They claimed Tiffany was no longer the company they agreed to buy. They called it a material adverse effect.
This was the wolf's trap. If Arnault could prove Tiffany was damaged goods, he could walk away for $0.
And Tiffany, they knew they couldn't survive a 2-year trial.
Their stock would be worthless before the first witness even took the stand.
Tiffany begged for a fast-track trial.
They needed a verdict before November 24, the drop-dead date in the contract. The judge gave them a partial victory.
A 4-day trial, set for early January.
But there was a catch. The drop-dead date would pass before the trial started. Arnault had won the most important resource in any war, time. He had Tiffany in a legal chokehold.
He didn't need to win the case. He just needed to wait until Tiffany ran out of breath. By October 2020, the pressure was unbearable.
Tiffany's jewelry was sitting in empty stores. Their reputation was being shredded in court filings every day.
They were facing a choice: fight a billionaire in court for years and likely go bankrupt,
or take the haircut. October 29, the truce.
Arnault offered to close the deal, but only if Tiffany shaved $3.5 off every single share. It sounded small, but in the world of the ultra-wealthy, that small discount was a $425 million victory lap for Bernard Arnault.
The heist was complete. He had forced an American icon to discount its own heritage. And the best part,
they had to thank him for it.
January 2021. The ink was dry. The $15.8 billion had changed hands. But if Tiffany's board thought they were entering a partnership, they were dead wrong. Within hours of the closing, Arnault did what he does best. He decapitated the leadership, the CEO, the artistic director, the chief marketing officer, all gone. In their place, Arnault installed his son, Alexandre, a 28-year-old digital native with a mandate to burn the old Tiffany down and build something different. The first move was a shock to the system.
A new ad campaign titled, "Not Your Mother's Tiffany." The traditionalists were horrified.
They claimed Arnault was destroying the class of the brand. But Arnault wasn't looking at the past. He was looking at the data. He didn't want the romance of the 1960s. He wanted the hype of the 2020s. He collaborated with Supreme. He put Pharrell Williams in diamond-encrusted glasses. He turned a quiet jewelry house into a loud, cultural megaphone. So, did the heist pay off? In the first year under LVMH, Tiffany recorded its best financial performance in history.
Arnault didn't just save $425 million on the purchase price. He increased the brand's operating income by double digits. He bought low during a global panic, used the French government as a legal shield, bullied a century-old icon into a discount, and then doubled its value in 24 months.
The Tiffany heist wasn't just a business deal. It was a masterclass in crisis capitalism. It proved that in the world of luxury, fairness is for the consumers. For the magnates, there is only leverage. Today, Tiffany is more profitable than ever.
But it serves as a warning to every other independent brand left on the market. Because when the wolf is hungry,
no box is too strong to break. I'm Gilded Truth. If you want to see how the world's most powerful empires are really built, hit subscribe.
We'll see you in the next one.